Welcome back everyone to another auction video. This is me coming to the auctions every single week until it stops raining or being windy. But in this episode, we're gonna look at all of these white utility vehicles. So starting off, we have this PX2, or it looks to be a PX2 Ranger with the usual plastic cladding on the side, snorkel, just the usual Ranger nonsense. Like what is that? Like this is literally screwed into the tailgate, this piece of plastic. I don't get Ranger owners and putting plastic on every single body panel, like even this. What is this? Is this meant to protect the door or something? The door handle? I guess Ranger owners don't want to scratch their door when they have their fake nails on, you know, which is fair enough, fair enough. And on the inside, what do we got here? 250,000, smells like farts. And a bit of a hint of electrical fire as well, which is interesting. But for 250,000, I mean, the seat is in pretty good nick. That's just straight poo there. Look at these grab handles. It's like a Porsche. So it had normal plastic ones and they removed them for these little G-string looking grab handle things. Let's head on inside. All right, usual Ranger stuff. We got a throttle controller, EVC. These are pretty good. I have one in my dad's Prado and it makes a world of difference. We have the 6R80 6-speed auto transmission. We got factory diff lock, hill descent control, traction control, and obviously your 4-wheel drive selector for your transfer case. It's kind of ironic how all of these cars that are in this lane are all white, like 99% of them, including this Ranger. I mean, how many white Rangers do you see driving around on the road? I feel like every second car is a white PX Ranger XLT. But this is just your standard XLT cloth seats. Look at that, dual cab though, which is good. I'm struggling to find things to talk about Rangers because there's just so many of them and there's nothing really that special about them. I don't know why so many people own them. I guess the reason why so many exist in the first place is because companies buy them as fleet vehicles and then people end up buying them used. But they are decent cars. Like I can't really fault them, but there's just so many of them. But then again, I'd still rather see Rangers on the road than Chinese cars. So I guess to catch 22, right? Let's look under the bonnet, see what that 3.2 litre engine is looking like. I mean, on the outside, it looks kind of tough. Like you got that big bull bar on the front, you got halogen spotties, very 2001 of this Ranger owner. Big, meaty tires. I don't know what these would be. I'm not really super well versed in off-road tires. If I had to have a guess, these are probably like 33s. Let's have a look under the bonnet. All right, here's that 3.2 litre inline 5 with that variable oil pump. Fun fact about these, if you didn't know, I mean, if you don't know, then you've been living under a rock. But if you spend more than 15 minutes draining the oil on one of these, it loses oil pressure. It doesn't matter if you fill it back up with oil. There is like a special sequence that you have to follow in order to get this engine to build oil pressure again after a service. So I'm pretty sure the maximum amount of time you're allowed to let this oil drain out of the car is like 10 to 15 minutes. Very, very strange. A lot of cars have variable oil pumps, but for some reason on Rangers it's just particularly a bad issue. Yeah, nothing really major to report on the good old Ranger. Does have an EGT sensor, which is pretty nifty from factory. No rocker cover leak. I don't see any broken boost pipes. This is a very common one to go. It has gone very soft though. Very, very soft. It's also kinked. That's interesting. But yeah, if you own a Ranger, all I can say is nice. Very nice. What more can I say? I mean, it's just a Ranger, you know? It's just a Ranger. There you go. PX2 or PX3 Ranger. And right in front of me is a car that used to share the same platform and engine as the Ranger. And of course, it's the BT50. But now this BT50 shares the same engine as an Isuzu D-Max. I quite like these because I don't know what Mazda was thinking. I mean, Mazda is pretty well known for reliability. And they decided to put that 3.2 litre engine out of that Ranger into a Mazda BT50. But in this generation, this sort of facelifted newer generation model, they decided to be smart and put a 4JJ3 in it from a Isuzu D-Max, and they're great cars. I mean, I can't fault them at all. Of course, they're gonna have their usual issues. I'm not super well versed on what the 4JJ3 issues are, but they're definitely a lot better than the PX Ranger motor, the 5-cylinder, and even the 2.2. But let's take a look on the inside, because I've never actually sat in a newer generation BT50. Never mind, it's locked. Now, this is one of the only non-white cars in this whole row, and that is, along with this 1KD Hilux, a VE SS. So this one would have, I believe, the L77, but correct me if I'm wrong, 6-litre V8. As you can see there, it's got that DOD system cylinder deactivation, which is not good. They tend to flog out lifters. So when people modify them and put cams in them, they delete that whole system. But this one looks relatively stock, other than the usual shit mods, like the clear tinted taillights. It does look like it has an exhaust on it. I don't know why anyone would want to take the SS badge and the Holden badge off it. I don't know. It's almost as bad as putting Chevy badges on it. And moving on, amongst the sea of white cars, we have a 90 series Prado. Now you still see heaps of these driving around on Australian roads, and for good reason. I mean, they're a great car. They're very, very affordable now. You can pick a decent one up for under 10 grand, and for that you're getting full-time all-wheel drive, either a 1KZ diesel or a 5EZ 3.4 litre petrol, which are very, very good engines. The only thing that really lets this car down is, if I had to nitpick something, would be the front suspension. It's not the best designed independent front suspension on a four-wheel drive, but still, when you're talking about a soccer mum car like a 90 series Prado, what can you really expect? And especially for the money, it'll get you wherever you need to go within reason. Obviously, it's not going to be a GU with a 4-inch lift and 37-inch traps on it, but like this will take you wherever you really need to go. But the thing I really like about these cars for some reason is the interiors. And this one looks to be a Grande model, and it also is the 1KZ TE. So before we look under the bonnet, let's take a look on the inside of this very beige interior. Now, I'm pretty sure this is a Grande, but I could be wrong, considering this has cloth seats and no sunroof, and also no climate control. Toyota 4Drives up until about the 200 series Land Cruiser had pretty confusing names. Like, there were so many models. So forgive me if I get it wrong, but yeah, I mean, it's held up very, very well, considering it has upwards of 450,000 kilometers. They use good oil in it, Penrite, 10W40, very nice. So look, I can't really fault the inside. I mean, it still looks like it's in really good nick. It's still got the back seats. So for an old banger like this, I mean, this would probably be like a 98, 99 model, and it's still, you know, held up to the test of time quite well, I think. Got that sub fuel tank level indicator here as well. Of course, you got the air conditioning, you got the classic climate controls out of like a Camry, but you know it's gonna work. Got that 4-speed auto, second lockout, power mode, and of course the good old-fashioned 4-wheel drive stick for the transfer case. The center console as well. I mean, this looks like a bit of an afterthought by Toyota. It's not really holding up quite well, but I mean, look, this thing has upwards of 450,000 kilometers. I wonder if it's the original 1KZ, and what is it doing here? Again, these cars sell very, very well on marketplace and car sales and stuff like that, because old boomers that have owned them for their whole adult career of driving are just selling these off when Vic Road are telling them they can't drive anymore. But let's have a look at that 1KZ under the bonnet. All right, so under the bonnet, it is pleasantly clean under here. So this being an Australian delivered 1KZ, they all came factory intercooled. So in a 90 series Prados at least. In the KDN 185 generation and even previous generations of Hilux Surf, you could actually get these 1KZs non-intercooled. So very, very strange. I mean, I'm not surprised that they sort of made it like standard in Australia because of the hot climate. Obviously not today, considering it's freaking raining and it's windy. Yeah, I mean, it is so clean under here. I can't see a single oil leak anywhere. It does look like very familiar to a 1KD for obvious reasons, but this thing looks like it was looked after very, very well. So the timing belt was replaced at 425,000 kilometers. Got that top mounted intercooler, and then the intake pipe is all that goes to the wrong side. I don't know why they didn't just put it here. Very odd. It's like a Falcon turbo crossover pipe. But yeah, these 1KZs, they are a electronic fuel injected motor, but they are non-common rail. So it just has high pressure lines coming straight off the fuel pump into the injector. So there's no common rail sitting there holding constant pressure, constant fuel pressure for all the injectors, which is okay. The main issues with these things is that they do love to crack heads. That's mainly due to the sort of inefficient way of delivering the fuel. But nevertheless, if you keep up on top of maintenance, you will have zero issues with one of these 1KZ Prados. They're very, very decent cars. Like, I honestly really like them. I do like the way they look. And like I was saying earlier, TX, like what is that? What is that supposed to be? Is that like between a GXL and the Grande? Who knows? But yeah, 90 series Prado. Can't really fault it. Very stock looking on the outside. Very clean car. Now the next car that I'm featuring is something that you don't see very often on the road, mainly because most of them are broken down, but when they do work, they are pretty cool. And that is of course a Land Rover Discovery, and I believe this is a Disco 3, I could be wrong, but this will either have a V8 or it'll have a 5-cylinder diesel, most likely a diesel. I'm pretty sure the pre-facelift versions of these did come with the V8s, but I think they discontinued them when they facelifted it. But the cool thing about these Discos is that they are a body on frame, solid front and rear suspension 4-wheel drive. So they are on paper very, very capable off-road. And at the end of the day, it is a bit of a Touareg tractor. So they are quite nice on the inside, and it's a little bit different because it's not your regular Land Cruiser or Patrol, it's a Land Rover. So let's check out the inside. Well, first of all, I mean, the interior is very funky. Let's take a step inside. This has no side step, and I'm not particularly vertically gifted, so let's just try and get in here. All right, well, it looks like, I don't know if this is standard. I don't think the sunroof is standard, because yeah, I don't know if these came with sunroofs. Maybe they did, but yeah, that definitely does not look like a standard sunroof to me. But like I said, it is a little bit funky. The steering wheel is very, very thick and chunky. It's also not perfectly true. It's like a little bit off center, which is classic European car, but I kind of like that. I mean, it gives it sort of a bit of character, you know? We've got this really cool looking center console with the window switches here. Classic Land Rover build quality there. A normal handbrake, not like a foot brake. I'm assuming this is going to be a 4-speed auto, and it's got riding on both sides. Not sure why you need it on both sides, but it's there. What else have we got? Looks to be auto climate control, cup holders. Wow, cup holders. We got some buttons here. Does this have air suspension? Might have to have a look in a sec. Air suspension, that's pretty cool in the back. This one also looks like it's been fitted with trailer brakes. Horn doesn't work, maybe the car has to be on. But let's see, next service 265,000, but it's got a digital cluster, so I can't see. Who knows if it's been serviced on time. Whoa, Jesus. That is a lot of coinage right there. This is the most valuable one though. Very rare Woolworths coin. But this is what you get for backseat cup holders. You get the lid, which is like barely the tip of my finger deep. Not really the most ergonomic design there to hold your drinks. But yeah, I do really like these, but like how reliable can these really be? I mean, they're European to start off with, British, which is like another step below, you know, the benchmark, like normal German 4-wheel drives and stuff. So it's probably not going to be the most reliable thing in the world, but it is cool, I must admit. I really like the roof design on these. It's like it like steps up at the back, and you got like little windows in the corners as well, so you can see if a plane is in your blind spot, which is very useful to know. Another interesting thing is that the back seats are actually higher than the front seats, hence why there's that little roof bump there as well for, you know, your passengers. But let's have a look under the bonnet and see what kind of engine is in this thing. I'm predicting it's going to be a 5-cylinder diesel, but let's have a look. But first I need to figure out how to open the bonnet. Well, I'm sort of pleasantly surprised because this thing has a V8. I was looking at it like trying to figure out, that's a funny looking 5-cylinder diesel. It's definitely not. That is definitely a V8. Not quite sure what this V8 is out of. I'm gonna have to do some reading up on it when I get home. But it kind of like resembles a Barra V8, like weirdly, very, very weirdly. The intake manifold kind of looks similar, and it's got ignition leads. Like it's not coil on plug, it's got ignition leads, which is very, very weird. And also this being a relatively new car, probably made in the early 2000s, it still has a cable throttle. And something I just noticed, it's fitted with gas. It's got LPG on it. Well, that's very weird. Unfortunately, I don't really know much about these engines, but it does look like a pretty old design, like a single cam pushrod style engine. It could be a Rover V8. I'm not saying it isn't, it could be. I know the earlier ones do use Rover V8s. Oh yeah, should have just walked around the back. But you know, I like that mystery. I like the mystery of finding out for myself. But yeah, if it is a Rover V8, 3.5 or 3.9 litre V8 in this one, yeah, pretty cool car. Would I ever own one? Probably not. It'd probably give you a lot of grief, but it's still cool to see. Just came across this Crown Majesta looking very sorry for itself. Looks like the air suspension in it has collapsed. These are a pretty cool car, very, very good value for money. You get a V8, air suspension, heated, and I think cooled seats on the inside. Like, look at this interior. The thing about cars in Japan is that people don't really value old cars, so they sell these really, really cheap, and that's why they get bought up by other countries, like especially Australia. You see a lot of these in Australia, but you got that usual Majesta broken dash. This is a case as well with 120 series Prados. My dad's dash looks exactly like this. It's got the crack in it that runs along the whole length of the dash. This one's not horrible. My dad's one sort of goes all the way down here. Oh yeah, there you go. Can't see through my sunnies, there's a big crack there. But yeah, I mean, look at this. You got your height adjustment, high, normal, sport, and normal. And you got a rear blind too. Look at that, nice. Got a sunny as well. Pretty cool car, but you gotta find one with an uncracked dash for it to kind of be worth it. Because to pull a dashboard out of one of these, I can imagine it's not gonna be a very fun job. And to find one that's not cracked is even harder. So it also smells like cigarettes in here, like Japanese cigarettes. In the last video, I sort of briefly brushed over this 8T RS5. Now these cars, although they're not the most special thing in the world, they are special in their own way, because along with the E92 M3 and cars like that, this is one of the last naturally aspirated V8s put in a production car, at least German ones, German production cars. So this particular one is a facelifted 8T, which look way better than the pre-facelift. This one also looks to be in really nice condition. There's really nice black color, massive oval exhaust tips. That's how you know it's an RS. Let's take a look on the inside. This one's done a few K, not gonna lie, 176,000, but still nothing too crazy. But I can sort of hazard a guess why it might be here and not on marketplace or car sales. These did suffer with a lot of DSG issues. So dual mass flywheels, mechatronics, clutches, and they are very, very expensive to fix. The problems are pretty easy to hide because most of the time they only start to show symptoms when they're warm. So whoever buys this car, it's a bit of a gamble. It's a bit of a gamble because you can just as easily drive out. You can easily drive out of here and not notice the problem until you get about half an hour into your journey, then it starts slipping and shuddering and the dual mass starts to rattle. But again, that's the risk you take with these auctions. And yeah, very nice to see that the sun blind is still working. Usually these bind up and the fabric rips out of them and shit like that. But the lock nut in there still. This one has the carbon trim. Very, very nice. The interior does look a little bit dated, but you can swap these out for Apple CarPlay head units and stuff. But it's got basically everything you really need in a performance car. You got a nice 7-speed DSG, you get multiple drive modes, big brakes as well on this thing. The only complaint I have about these cars is that they're so quiet from factory. Very, very quiet, like way too quiet for an RS. And this car came out before all the emission stuff got really bad, so I'm surprised they made them this quiet. Got more of that carbon trim here. But what I want to see is that 4.2 litre naturally aspirated V8. The bonnet does look like it's been resprayed before. You can sort of see a bit of orange peel in the paint. You can definitely feel it. Oh yeah, right up here, you can feel the orange peel. That's not a good sign. So it's definitely been in an accident before. And this guard as well has been resprayed. Ooh, and the door. Well, the plot thickens. Let's have a look under here. Now the outside of the car looks pretty clean, but under the bonnet, you can definitely tell that someone's been in here. You can see all the polishing dust. It's either that or when they wet sanded the primer. But yeah, I think this car has been in a big accident before. Considering the bonnet, the front bar, the guard, that door, this door potentially as well. Nah, this one looks all right. Have all been resprayed. Not a good sign, but that's why you always gotta come and check out these cars. And that's why I come here, because you never know just by looking at photos whether parts are being resprayed. Yeah, it's definitely looking a little bit dusty, a bit grimy under here, but these sound great with intakes. Got the red valve covers. It is very stock under here. Can't really tell that it's been modified, but yeah, this is not. This over here, very not a good sign. See if we can spot any further damage. Doesn't look like there's any kinks anywhere, but you can see the witness marks of where the bolts for the rad support used to be. A little bit of seam sealer there, but that doesn't look factory to me. So yeah, it's definitely had a hit at least on the passenger side, but this could go very cheap. You never know. It could be on Wover, I haven't checked, but it definitely could be. But oh, look at the tire, man. Jesus, what the hell? What were they doing in this thing? That's wild, bro. What about the back ones? Back one is a little bit low. But yeah, that tire must have been on the car when the accident happened, and maybe the guard dug into the tire. That's my presumption, but yeah, that is gnarly. I don't even know how that happens. It looks like it melted. But yeah, 80 RS5. Just came across this E38 740i. I love the look of these 7 Series BMWs. I believe these are called Shorty Sporties. That might just be an American term, but this is a 740i. So it'll have the V8 motor. This is when they were still naturally aspirated. Not the most reliable thing in the world, but are they cool? Absolutely. Let's have a look at the interior. I don't know if this is an E38 or it could be a slightly earlier one. I'm not super familiar with 7 Series BMWs, but I'm assuming that this is sort of like a late 90s, mid to late 90s 7 Series. And look, it's got a TV, it's got a screen, can answer phone calls. This looks like the E34 and E36 generation of BMWs. So it has this sort of older analog dials, but this is where I'm assuming the phone used to be. Got a sunroof too. Yeah, this is definitely like a E36 and E34 generation BMW. I'm guessing this will have a 5-speed automatic. Dual zone climate control. Look at that. Heated seats. Wow. Cup holders. Very nice. Electric steering column. Now this is pretty cool. This thing is gangster. This is like a Balkan dad car. And what I've just noticed is that it has 2 light dials. So this looks like it's for the fogs, and then this is for your normal main beams, but it's weird how they're not automatic. I mean, surely in this generation they figured out auto headlights. I guess not. Let's have a look under the bonnet. Now, if I had to have a guess, this is probably a 3.5 litre V8 or a 4 litre V8. But the one thing I did notice is that this is something that you'd find on an imported car. So this could potentially be an imported 7 Series. And let's open this door. Might see a compliance plate somewhere. Nothing there. Now, weirdly, the compliance plate usually sits in the passenger door jamb, but on this one, there's nothing. So that's kind of weird. But look at this oil filter location. That is very, very odd. But yeah, this is a very, very physically large V8, but this wouldn't be like a large decent V8. Like I said, it's probably a 3.5, maybe a 4 litre V8, but I can imagine it would be very, very smooth to drive and have enough power. You don't want too much power, but it'll definitely have enough. Yeah, beautiful 740i.